something that I was able to really learn on my mission was to trust in God's will. Because sometimes, like, we want good, we have good desires, but that's not necessarily what's best for us. One of the experience I had with that was in my my third area, so in Trujillo. There was these two girls, and I think they were 18 or 19 at the time, when we were teaching, because when I got there, my companion had already been teaching them. They were, almost going to be baptized. Like, I was just, we were going to finish up the lessons, and they were basically going to be baptized. And we even went, they had their baptismal interview and everything. They were ready to go. And so one day, my companion, she was the sister trainer leader at the time, so she had gone to a meeting. So I was with a couple other sisters in a different area. And so when she came back, when we met up again to go back to our area, she was like really quiet, but then like I felt like something was wrong. And I was like, oh my goodness, what now? And so I started talking to her, and she said, so the two girls, our two investigators, she said that they had called her and said that they didn't want to get baptized, because that Saturday they were going to be baptized, and they said that they didn't want to do it, that they wanted to hold off that. Well, at first they said that they wanted to wait until after Christmas for their family to be there or something like that, but I just didn't have a very good feeling about it. And so at that point I was really discouraged, because I was about halfway, or even a little more than halfway through my mission, and there were so many instances where we had met great people and we were teaching them, they came to church, but then something happened and it ended up not working out, that they didn't get baptized. And so I thought, well, can only do what we can do. And so we tried, going to visit them and trying to work with them still, but I could just feel like something was wrong there. And a lot of the problem was the two girls, they were cousins, and they lived with one of the girls' parents in their house thing. And they were, I think, they were Catholic or something like that. And then the uncle that lived beneath them, he was a Jehovah's Witness. And so I know, having that adversity against them, that was probably a lot of it, having them, second guess their decisions and things like that. And so we still kept trying to work with them. It worked out that they didn't get baptized. And it was really discouraging, because I thought, well, I don't want to lose them. They were so good. So when I got my new companion, we kept trying to work with them. And then I just had the feeling, one of them that kept receiving us, that kept listening to us and wanted to hear us, I just thought, does she have a testimony of the Book of Mormon? And I just felt so strongly that that was, a big thing that we needed to help her with. And so I remember one time, so we had a member come with us, and we went to her house, and we were talking to her, and we started talking to her, about the Book of Mormon, and I made a promise to her that if she would read it with an honest heart, and that if she would pray, having faith that, Heavenly Father was really there, and if she, as if he was sitting by her, if she asked him if the Book of Mormon was true, that she would receive the answer from the Spirit that she needed. And so she did that, and she got her answer that it was true. And so we got her to, want to get baptized again, but she just wasn't really sure of when she wanted to. And so we had the feeling maybe it would be good for her to talk with the bishop in that ward. And so when we went to, I think it was a meeting with our ward mission leader, we were at the church, and then she went to go talk with the bishop. So while we're meeting, me and my companion were kind of worried about it, like thinking like, oh man, I hope everything goes good. And so when we were done with our meeting, she comes in, and she, her face is just glowing, and I'm like, oh, okay, so like what happened? And she's like, I'm gonna get baptized, sisters. And we were just so happy. I was like, okay, so were you able to decide on the day for sure that you wanted to? And she said, yeah, January 22nd. And I just thought, oh my goodness, that's my birthday. And so it just worked out. When I told her that, we both hugged each other and we both started crying, because at first I was shocked that she wanted to get baptized, sooner than we had planned with her. But then it just worked out perfectly. It was on my birthday, and I just thought, if her and her cousin would have been baptized at first, like, I don't know if they truly, were converted enough, to be able to be strong and withstand that adversity. They probably would have just ended up probably falling away. It probably would have been too hard for them. But that was the perfect timing for her, and when she really needed to, really be able to help her with her testimony. And she's still doing great now. She's had callings in church, and she wants to prepare to go on a mission. And, she's still living, as far as I know, she's still living with that family, so she still has, those different, that family not really for what she's doing and discouraging it, but she's still doing so good and so strong. And I know it was because it was the right moment for her and the right timing for her. And because, we didn't give up and get discouraged and just leave her. Like, I know that Heavenly Father truly knows His children and what they need. And, thinking about all the people that I taught and necessarily, didn't get baptized, like some of the most special and sacred moments and, feeling the Spirit the strongest was with people that, maybe later on they got baptized, but people that didn't progress, at least while I was with them. And so a huge thing that I realized is, Heavenly Father, whether they're going to accept the gospel at that moment or not, Heavenly Father loves them so much. And your job as a missionary is to be a disciple of Jesus Christ. You literally are His representative. And so God will lead you to His children and to give them what they need. And even if it doesn't work out with everybody, that's okay. All you can worry about is giving your best and being the best representative of Jesus Christ that you can be, and giving the people the chance to be able to feel the Spirit, and then they have their agency, so they can decide at that moment or not if they want to accept it. But you're there not to force them, not to just add numbers to the church, but you're there to build their faith in Jesus Christ. And so if you can do your job and do your best, that's all you can worry about. That's all Heavenly Father wants. He just wants us to give the best you can, because if you're truly doing your best, then that's all you can do. And there was this lady also in my area in Trujillo. We were, and it always seems like when, all your appointments fell and you've had a hard day, Heavenly Father's like, okay, now I got you where I need you to be. And so one day when we had appointments, things planned, just everything fell through, so we were just kind of sitting on a bench for a second, like, okay, what should we do now? And so it was kind of in this park area in the city, and we saw this lady, and she had this really big bag of stuff, and it looked like she was struggling. So we go up to her and say, hey, is it okay? Can we help you carry these things? And she's like, yeah, of course. She was overjoyed to get our help. And so we helped with her things, and we're talking to her on her way, and we helped her to where she lived. And it was actually pretty close, but it was, a good opportunity to be able to talk to her and be able to get to know her. And so we asked her if there was a time that we could, come back and visit her more and share a message with her. And she's like, yeah, of course. And so we come back, and so we go in, and so she was there, and then she was living with a lot of her family members. So she was there, and her brother was there, but she was an older lady. I'd say she's probably in her 60s or so. And then her brother was probably in in his 50s or something, and then a few of his kids were there at the time when we came to visit. But her brother, I don't remember what was wrong, but he had, for some reason he had a tube in his throat, and so he had some kind of sickness or something. But it was really awesome to work with them, and be able to get to know them, earn more of their trust, and to, share a message with them for them to be able to feel the Spirit. And so I think it might have even been the next day or within that same week, we went back, because I think we had planned a lesson with them, but then when we went, she wasn't there, and so we came back another day to see if she happened to be there. And so we come in, and I hear this, like when we get to the gate of like where her little house was, I heard this weird noise, and then I thought it could have been her brother that was in his wheelchair, the one that had the tube. But then I see the lady come to the door, and she was sobbing, and she was trying to tell us what happened. She let us in, and it turns out that her brother had passed away that morning. And I was like, oh my goodness, I felt so bad for her. And then what made it worse was this man's daughter. She was probably like 10 or 12, but she, was coming home from school. And then when she came in, like, seeing everyone crying, realizing what would happen, I remember she said, "No, Poppy, no, Poppy." And I was like, oh my goodness, like that broke my heart so much. Just to, for them to truly feel that he was gone, and to, not possibly, see him again, have him back. But that at that moment, my heart broke for them, but then I felt so much gratitude to know, how lucky am I to have the knowledge that this life isn't the end, that I can have my family forever. But then what perfect timing for us to be there for this family. We had met the lady, we had helped her, got to know her family, had shared a bit of, about the restoration and things. But then for Heavenly Father to put us there, to be able to teach them about the plan of salvation, that they were going to be able to see their Father again, what they were going through, for them to know that it's okay. And that was the last week of my transfer, so I wasn't able to work with them more, but I just know that we were put there for a reason, for that family to have the comfort and peace to know that they would be able to see, their brother and their dad and their husband again. And like I said, everyone may not accept it, but that's not necessarily what you need to worry about. Just focus on loving the people and being there, really doing what Christ would, serving them and giving them the peace and hope that they need. And another cool experience, just the Lord putting us where He wants us to be. Another day when some appointments had fallen through, we were walking around, and sometimes what we would do, instead of just like knocking on doors and saying, "Hi, we're missionaries, from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints," we had this kind of like this survey thing, I guess you could say, that we do. And I don't remember all the questions. We would just do about 3 questions. And I remember one of them, we would say, "Did you know that God is speaking again through a prophet on earth today?" And then another one was, "Did you know that after His resurrection that Christ came here to the Americas?" And that one, I really liked asking that one, because like people would be like, "What? Are you serious?" And it's just so great to be able to share that with them. So that was a really good tool for us to use, so it's not so awkward, but it's more like, okay, like, would you be able to help us with the survey that we're asking? And so that was a good way to, introduce things that we would talk about and for them to be interested. And so that definitely is a good thing for future missionaries to use. Just, come up with questions that you feel inspired to ask people, like, did you know that there's a prophet on earth today, or anything about the Book of Mormon, or anything like that. Definitely pray for inspiration for questions that you could use. But anyways, when we were doing that, we were kind of in an area that had a little bit more money, and so the houses were a little bit more nicer and the security was a little bit better. But so after, being disappointed with our appointments falling through, people are like, no, I don't want to listen. Like, they're a bit more stubborn. They wouldn't even let us talk to them or anything like that. Like, a lot of the houses, like, you would, like, ring the doorbell and it was like an intercom thing. And so we were kind of getting, frustrated with that. But as we were walking past, like, through this area that was like a park, but then had, like, houses surrounding it, we were walking by, and then, like, I remember having a feeling, and I looked over, and I just had a feeling, it was like, you need to go to that house. And I was like, nah, like, it's one of those nice houses. Like, they're not even going to answer. Like, they're not going to, want anything. And then so we kept walking. And then, like, before we completely walked past it, I was like, you need to go to that house. And so I was like, okay. So I told my companion. So we went back and we're like, whatever, I guess, we'll try it, see what happens. So we ring the doorbell and we say, like, hi, like, we're missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. We're doing this survey. Would you mind helping us with that? And so she's like, yeah, sure. And so she actually like came and opened the door, and we were talking to her, asking those questions. And I think it was a question about, did you know that God is speaking us today through a prophet? And she said, oh, is it Joseph Smith? And I was like, wait a minute. Like, how do you know about Joseph Smith? And so we got talking to her, and it turns out she was actually baptized when she was little. But then, just as years went on, she kind of, like, fell away, and she married a man who was Catholic and didn't really want anything to do with the church, so she had fallen away. But she told us that, her husband had just recently passed away, and, she was having a hard time with her children. Just a lot of hard things were going on in her life right now. And she said, I was just praying that, Heavenly Father somehow would help me. And she said, I feel like Heavenly Father sent you guys to come find me. And I just thought, wow. Like, it was such an honor to really be his representative, to take his place and do the things that he would do. And we were able to help her, start coming back to church and remembering things, and for her to regain her testimony. I just know that Heavenly Father really does put you in the places that you need to be. And, back to what I was saying before, you may have good desires, but Heavenly Father really knows what's best for you and for all of his children. And so just do the best you can, and Heavenly Father will lead you to where you need to be, and really do the work that you need to. You may not be baptizing left and right, but if you're honestly, being obedient, doing the very best that you can, trying to love the people, then you're going to do what he needs of you. And there was a time in my second area in Chimbote, so my companion at that time, she was done with her mission. She was going to go home. And so a mission activity had, it was basically kind of like a farewell for her. It was really nice, but it, was getting kind of late. And so I was like, I, wanted her to have the chance to, you'd be able to, talk with the members and take pictures and say goodbye and everything. But it was getting really late because we had to be in our rooms at the latest by 9:30. And so it was getting really close, and I was just praying. I was like, Heavenly Father, please help us, that things can work out, but please help us to be able to be obedient and to be able to make it back to our room on time. And so there was I think it was 9:20 or something like that, and I was like, okay, we really need to go, because it was the church, and then where our room was at, it was on almost opposite sides completely of our area. And so at that moment, while I was praying, my mission president's counselor, he happened to be there, and he came up, and he, you saw what was going on. He said, I'll give you guys permission to go back to your room by 10 o'clock. So you're like, oh, okay, so that'll work out. So that made me feel a lot better. So we went on, she's talking more to the members and just having fun, taking pictures. And then I look at my clock again, and it says 9:56. And so that gave us 4 minutes to be, from the church back to our room. And I was thinking, this is impossible. We're going to be late. I was like, oh my goodness. And so I just started praying, and I was like, Heavenly Father, just please help us that things will be okay, that somehow that we can get back to our room on time. And so, I was telling my companion, I was like, okay, we got to go. And so we run down to the first floor of the church, and then we run across to our area. We're zigzagging through the roads, trying to go as fast as we can. And then we get to like our apartment building. And so first we have to unlock that door and then run up 4 flights of stairs, to the 4th floor. And then we have to run across and then get to where our door is. And so we have to unlock that one. And so when we get in, I pull out the phone to see what time it was. So we left the church. We started leaving the church at 9:56. And when I looked at the phone, it was 9:59. And I know that was a miracle, because there is no way that even if we were at the church and then going to our room, there's no way that we could have crossed our area in 3 minutes, let alone having to go down, unlock the door, go up 4 flights of stairs. I know that because we were trying to be obedient, that we were blessed. And I'm like, the moral of that, I'm not saying like push the limits and then you'll get lucky, but I just know that if you're honestly trying to be obedient and doing the best that you can and seeking for the Lord's help, that you'll be able to see lots of miracles like that in your mission. And so just do the best you can to be obedient, because I know sometimes it can be hard, especially if there's companions or just things going on that might make it difficult. Even if you have to stand up to somebody, even if you have to stand up to your companion, just be as obedient as you can. That'll bring you the most blessings. Because it was in an MTC, someone had said, obedience brings blessings, but obedience with exactness brings miracles. And I know that to be so true. And so just do your best. I know there's, lots of situations, but do your best to show your love and respect to the Lord for, His rules and His commandments, and you will be so blessed.